Three, two, one, liftoff.
Cannabinoid Connect, the nation's most diverse cannabis-related podcast.
All right, looks like we are recording. Jack, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Hey, Kevin, thanks. Thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today about Mosaic. Am I saying that right?
Mosaic, yep. Mosaic.
Mosaic.
Mosaic is you bring together lots of different pieces and you make a beautiful piece of art or something. And that's a bit of what we do.
I love it. I love it. Throwing in the brand meaning. It has purpose. It has a great message. So, yeah, you're the founder, the CEO, and board director. And before we get into Mosaic, I understand you've served as board director for a number of different companies. So tell me a little bit about your background and what got you into the cannabis industry.
Yeah, for the last 20 years or so, I've been raising capital, starting businesses, helping other businesses around technology and really trying to innovate and disrupt in a good way industries, help industries leverage technology to help businesses be more successful. So that's what I've enjoyed. That's what I've been doing and across a wide variety of areas. But I did about 10 years ago, made an investment in cannabis and started to watch and look at the industry a little bit more closely, the legal industry and how that was evolving relative to the illicit industry. And I've noticed a few things. First thing you notice is, man, that's hard. I mean, these companies in this industry with 280E and everything, they've got their hands tied behind their back and it's such a challenge. How do you compete? And then you got to compete against the illicit market that doesn't have those challenges and it's a lot cheaper, right? So that was the first thing. And the second thing I gravitated to because of my background is technology. And just taking a look, a few things I saw. One was technology was really very simple. I call it rudimentary and fragmented. And so that made it hard for cannabis operators, especially around retail, to be successful. But I also saw companies get in there like Jane Dutchie and be very successful initially, right? So there was a real good opportunity for companies to come in and help these cannabis operators be more successful and have the same tools that other industries have. So that's what Mosaic is all about, trying to bring some of those capabilities and help the industry be successful.
That's great. And I love that you mentioned your passion for technology because I think that's a great segue and a good way to kick this conversation off is to kind of just lay the groundwork and talk about the evolution of cannabis dispensaries. So I think it's been 12 years, right, since Colorado went legal. So we've had 12 years of kind of evolution. So what have you seen in terms of how technology is transforming the cannabis dispensary experience from online ordering to in-store operations?
Yeah, so it's been interesting to watch, and I think it's kind of lagging some of the other industries outside of cannabis. But back 10 years ago or so, it was all about the in-store experience. And that's still very important. But COVID hit, and when that came, there was an immediate need for dispensaries to find a way, and in other industries, but for dispensaries to find a way to be able to take those orders remotely and have people come and pick it up. So that really injected new technologies, new startups that were very successful in solving that need. And now we're evolving to a point where I think the technologies that are out there for the large part are still fairly, they're built for that period. And if you look outside the industry, which you'll hear me say all the time, to a Starbucks, for example, or a Chick-fil-A, their brand, their app, their online menu, the loyalty and the payments all in one, that mobile experience works for them. And that's what cannabis needs. And that's what Mosaic is bringing, is the ability for a dispensary or an MSO to have their own branded Starbucks-like digital experience for their customers and ability to deliver that in a very cost-effective manner, say $500 per location. So we're in that period. But if you start to look forward, and you start to see what's happening in other industries, well, you can start to see AI play a role. And that's where it's going to get really exciting, on the ability to really start to leverage the data and machine or AI to personalize the experiences online. And that's all key, Kevin, because, outside of this industry, for example, Starbucks, over 50% of their revenues, their sales come from their app and their loyalty. And same thing with our best customers. They're doing 60% or more online or through digital. So it's kind of a key must-have, but it's also something you really need to have a good experience to be competitive and successful in this industry.
Sure, sure. Well, let's dive a bit deeper into those key innovations you touched on,
Mm.
from in-store to cashless payments, online pre-orders, other type of digital loyalty programs. And then you even mentioned the emergence of AI. So briefly touch on kind of each of those, but if you want to dive further into AI, I'm very interested because the data's been there, right? We've had the data, but it seems like AI is going to really help in terms of like automating the personalized experience instead of a human trying to kind of segment those customer types or
Yeah,
persona
there's a
types.
lot of depth here. You just mentioned three key things. I'm going to try to remember them in that order and quickly cover them. We can dive in. The first is that digital experience, online ordering. So the first thing is there's many ways to order, right, digitally. There's an online menu, which is typical for most dispensaries. There's an app. 88.7% of our dispensary customers, their users, are on their mobile phone. So it's pretty relevant to have an app, and not many dispensaries do. And then there's kiosks in the store. And then there's some other digital means. So to make sure that is a good experience and make sure it's consistent across all three, is tough to do in the cannabis space because you're usually using different providers for those services. So that's the first aspect when you start to think about what's happening there and the importance to it. And then you start to look at, AI, and what AI is going to play and the role it's going to play. And data is a big part of that. So when you look at the data piece, there's a big gap currently, and that is the visibility to what people are doing through digital. So today, believe it or not, most dispensaries, most MSOs, most brands in this industry don't get the data, that don't see the data of what's happening online, the online menu or the app. And that's because the architectures that most dispensaries are using for their online menu, for example, is an older technology and it blocks a lot of that data. So with Mosaic, we make all that visible. So the first big challenge is to make sure that you have data and you can see the data and you can start to analyze it and understand it. And that's important. So now you can see all those clicks, right? What are people clicking? And what I like to tell people is the in-store experience is great for dispensary. You go in a store, bud tender's there, they usually know their stuff. You have that exchange, but they're not taking notes. So they don't know what you're talking about. No one else is really knowing, what products you're talking about and which ones you end up buying or not. But the data that's available online, when people are online or in an app, again, remember, 60 for good dispensaries, 60% of it is online digital. That data is telling you everything. It's telling you what products are people looking at, they're clicking, how much time they spend on each product compared to the other product. Then do they put it in a cart? And then do they actually buy it when they put it in the cart for that product? Everything's there. That data in other industries is gold, and companies use that very effectively. So one is getting data, getting visibility, and having access to it. And that's one thing Mosaic provides, and one thing that is lacking in this industry. And then the third component is the AI. And we know that everyone's going crazy about AI and what it can do. But it's a very simple basis to start with in this industry. If you've got the data, then you can just start to be smart with how you interact in an automated way with your customers as a dispensary. The software can do it. And then what that means is the software will know who you are and what your profile is. So male, female, whatever, and where you live and how much you bought and what you bought. And then it will know what everybody else does. So it can compare you with everyone else, what their likes and dislikes aren't. And then based upon all that information across, thousands, tens of thousands, many users, you'll be able to start to personalize the menu. So the menu looks different for you than someone else. You'll start to be able to send certain offers or targeted communications to those users, and those will be meaningful messages with context that a user can receive, and it will make them make better decisions, buy the product that's better fit for them, and for a dispensary, buy more of that product and more often, most likely. So there's so much there just to get started with AI. And then, that's just to start with what data and AI is going to provide, not just for cannabis, but, it is going to change the world. It's just a matter of how quickly that's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen quicker than people think.
Right. It's fascinating. I mean, just the examples you shared there, and like you mentioned, we're just scratching the surface with AI
Oh,
and all that it can do. And it's already blowing most people's minds, right? And so, and another thing that you touched on that I couldn't agree more with, and it's even a huge issue outside of the cannabis industry, is the fragmented data, right? It's the lack of integration among various software solutions where these systems aren't talking to each other, and a lot of the data is piecemeal. You got to pull it from here, you got to pull it from there, and it's pretty cool that Mosaic is tackling that issue. And so I think this is a good part where we, talk about how Mosaic is helping dispensaries basically build a branded digital experience, right? Develop their own branded e-commerce platforms, and why having full control of a digital storefront matters.
Yeah, great question. So Kevin, the first aspect of how Mosaic is different, you go back to how it's fragmented today. So if you're a dispensary or an MSO, you typically have a platform, like you said, for e-commerce, another one for loyalty, maybe something else for an app, maybe something else for consolidating your data and analytics. You have all these different platforms and you got to pull them together. So what Mosaic has done is to basically pull your digital customer experience and all of those platforms together into one. And as a result, we're able to provide customers or dispensaries their own branded Starbucks-like experience. So that's their own branded app, their own branded online menu, the kiosks, all the loyalty, the rewards, ability to do marketing and CRM, as well as integrated payments into a seamless experience. And for the dispensary owner, it's great because one, you're managing one platform. Two, it's bringing all the data together. Now you can leverage that data as we're talking about. Three, it's much more cost effective. It's a lot less expensive. It's probably a third of the cost than what they pay for this, bringing everything together. But that's what we do, is bring it all together, make it easier, and simplify and give an experience that customers are used to in other industries, that they love in other industries, that is proven to work, that we know drives more frequent spending, higher average order values. And then you start to tap in the data, and then you really get smart around it. So that's what Mosaic does, and that's what makes us different. I think that's the gap that we're filling today in this industry.
Yeah, and I mean, you've clearly stated, I mean, it's important to create a branded digital experience to stay competitive, right? So, in your position, can you share some examples of how dispensaries can differentiate themselves or are differentiated themselves through this digital branding and user experience?
Yeah, there's many. Most dispensaries are using what's called iframe platforms, and that means that their look feel is all the same. It's always a white background. It's always the same template, and it's very difficult to have any of your brand in that experience. So you go one dispensary online, you go to another one, it's the same experience. So from the very get-go, what Mosaic enables you to do is have your brand reflected. It's all of your marketing assets, colors, logos, fonts throughout the whole online experience. And as I said before, not just the menu, but we give you the app, we give you the kiosk, and that's all a very similar experience, which is important. If you're a customer, you don't want to go online and then use an app and it looks a little bit different or a lot different. So that's probably the first thing you can do. The second is, especially because we own the online e-commerce piece of it, but we also own the loyalty. Now we're able to kind of send messages in a personalized manner. So if you're a user, one I might be seeing offers for me that are trying to get me to buy my first product because I just signed up. Or Kevin, if you were a user and you've been a user a registered user for this dispensary for 6 months, and it was your birthday, you might be getting a birthday discount, and you might be getting a discount on certain products. Or because you're in tier 2 or tier 3, you're getting the special discounts, or you're getting discounts on products that people don't see that are on tier 1. So you're very unique and special. And that's, from a brand perspective, important because now everything has context. Everything is relative to more of your interest, and it's more meaningful to the user, and that helps your brand. And then we're doing other things where you can actually have video built into that experience online or in your app. And I think we're the only ones doing that. And the more professional the experience is, the more unique it is. That just enhances your brand. So those are just some quick examples. But in today's world, I would suggest if you're doing a good job, over 50% of your revenues, your sales are going to come online, and therefore it's important. That's a good experience, and therefore you want that to reflect your brand, and therefore you want that to also reflect the in-store experience. So to be able to tie all those together is important. But most technologies today in cannabis don't really enable you to do that. So That's key to success, and it's becoming table stakes, more and more as we move forward.
Right. Well, and staying along the lines of building long-term relationships with cannabis consumers, I would imagine, I mean, what you've laid out, like that's the playbook, right? Various ways Mosaic can help with loyalty programs to be successful in driving repeat business, but there's got to be challenges along the way, right? So maybe talk about some of those challenges that you frequently see with various dispensaries, and then how they can overcome, and then keep it positive also, and maybe talk about the opportunities as well.
Yeah. I mean, the first challenge I think we run into is that dispensaries have so much on their plate, and they don't have a tremendous amount of resource. And we talked about the fact that financially it's a very big challenge because they got all this overhead, and therefore you could have a general manager or a manager in the dispensary. They're doing everything. So how do they, one, know how to use the tools, not just our tools, but any tools across the full spectrum of what they need to manage, and how do they use it effectively? And then how do they just find time to do it? That's a big challenge. We like to think that we try to simplify and make that easier by giving them for everything that's digital customer experience into one platform. So now you're not learning and managing 5 or 3 platforms. You've got one, and it's very easy to do. That helps, but it's still a challenge. I mean, they've got so much on their plate, and it's so hard. So, what we try to do is help. We try to give white glove treatment. We've got this great playbook that kind of gives an instructional guide of not only how to use it, but how you can do other marketing things to build your brand, to engage and drive more loyalty. So we try to give them more tools, and we're still relatively early as a business, so we're still trying to find ways to help even further as we go forward. But that's the big challenge I think is that. And then I'd say the second challenge, and you touched on it, Kevin, is building your brand, because it's a competitive landscape for these cannabis retail operators. And if you all look the same, people are buying on price. And if you're all just kind of discounting everything at once, you're losing margin. So the ability to be smart about it and discount in a smarter way, ability to reflect your brand better, have a better customer experience, that helps them at the end as well. But it's kind of a catch-22, because how do you find the time to get the right technologies in place, to learn those technologies, and then do that marketing and leverage them while you got so many different fires going on, and you just don't have the resources to throw at it. So that's really the big challenge that I see outside of the financial landscape that they've got to manage.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned that Mosaic is fairly new in the game. So how long have y'all been around? And what's the origin story? Everybody loves a good founder story, so no pressure.
Yeah, we've been around just over 2.5 years, and we are very much a product-led company in the sense that we put a lot of resource and team into the product, and we have over the 2.5 years, and we continue to enhance what we have built. Because what we built in many ways is 3 times more than what our competitors have, because we're not just doing the e-com, and we're doing that, but we're doing the app, we're doing loyalty, rewards, and bringing payments together. So we're doing a lot more, and we like to think it's it's engineered in a very tight, effective manner. So a lot of that time goes into it. In terms of the story, Kevin, yeah, I mean, it's probably not as exciting as some of the others, but I made
Didn't
the
happen in
investment
a garage? It didn't happen in your basement, or
well, we're still a scrappy company. We're not like some of the big players. We haven't raised $100 million. We've been very cost efficient. So we're scrappy in that sense. But I've done this before, and I saw an opportunity, like I said, to invest 10 years ago, look at the industry, and then 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more, say, we can really help this industry. And I know exactly where. And this is space I know with this technology. So the playbook was there. Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, just look at other industries. They figured it out. Obviously, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get to where they are, but they figured it out. So all we need to do is help build that for cannabis. And as a result, we could do it for others. I love doing that. I've been able to do that a few other times. So, that's what got me into it. And you know what? It's been a thrill, because and I've been in many other industries, insurance, telco, finance. This industry is so awesome. The people are great. It's a new industry, so it's got a lot of challenge, but it's exciting in that sense. There's opportunity as well as the challenge that's there. But the culture, the people, it's so different than everything else. So that's been a blast to be part of. So the ability to come in, hopefully help these businesses be successful, move business from the illicit market, educate people that haven't used before or are starting to learn about the benefits of it, or transitioning them from, say, alcohol or addictive drugs into something that's going to be better for them, more healthy, is kind of motivating every day to take a look at that. So yeah, so I'm excited, and what I'm doing, I kind of saw a plan, jumped into it. I probably wish I had a better story. I should make up a better story,
No,
but I just
I think
busy
that's a
work.
great story, Jack. I really do. And the reason I say that is because to your point about how exciting the cannabis industry is, I mean, I've said this over and over on the podcast where it's bringing together so many different people that have so many different skill sets and experience, right? And with one like-minded kind of goal, and that is to advance the accessibility and movement of this plant, right? Of consumers getting to be able to access it. And so you and your background, having started and founded other businesses and having that strong technology background, I mean, it's an asset. And if this is an industry where you're going to pivot and try to solve a problem, I think that's very welcome for most people. It's a good story. Don't beat yourself up on that.
Hey, Kevin,
um,
what's your quick story?
my story is that I've been a consumer for since uh just outside of high school. So all through college consumed. After my wrestling career is really when I started consuming, and I just love the plant and what it does for me personally. And when the pandemic hit, it was an opportunity where I figured I'm going to throw my hat into the ring and see what I can do in terms of adding value from the conversation perspective. At the time, there weren't too many podcasts, and there wasn't a lot of education around the cannabis plant, and not only right on the consumer side, but the medical benefit, right? The agricultural and industrial benefits of what you can basically do with hemp. So I thought, hey, this is a win-win, and people are going to be maybe a little uncomfortable at first when I came out of the cannabis closet, but I just believe that there's no going back. We're only going to progress. So that's my quick story.
You're right. And that's actually another challenge that I really believe's out there. The low-hanging fruit is for dispensary or cannabis is to go after the users who kind of know cannabis, that want to buy it. And the real opportunity is kind of shifting and getting, well, the people are really stuck in that illicit market because it's cheaper or they've got their buddy there they buy from, getting them
Right.
to transition. But then the people who either there was a stigma or now because it's legal that they're more willing to step in and more importantly just understand it. People, what you're doing the podcast is great. People don't understand cannabis, right? And
Right.
if you get to the non-buyers today, but the ones that might want to buy, the ones that have pain and it could help them with that, or any medical condition that might help them with, or just might again replace alcohol or some addictive drug that so many opportunities to really help people, they just don't know. So the
Right.
lack of education. So how do you educate people? How do you try to transition people from illicit to legal? And how do you transition, more importantly, everybody else that is a big audience that, if they knew what they could do or how it would help them, and some of them want to figure it out, but they just don't know how to figure it out. How do you get them in the fold too? So that's something I'd see dispensaries sometimes missing marketing to. And maybe they're smart because the whole low-hanging fruit is what gets their business going. But how do you tap into those people? In some ways, we think Mosaic can help because if you've got that digital experience like Starbucks, it's going to make it easier for people to dip their toe in, check that out. They're comfortable with that kind of experience. Maybe they go buy and go pick it up, make it a little bit easier. But you're hitting on
I
it. That's a big gap in the industry.
Yeah, and I think with what Mosaic does, it really frees up the operator to think about those types of things, right? Because if your technology stack is disparate and it's all over the place and your data is fragmented, then you're focused more on aggregating the data, finding the data, right? Maybe at a minimum. So it kind of alleviates all those headaches, it seems like, and it allows the consumer or the operator to focus on, okay, let me run a marketing campaign where it's educationally focused, right? We talk about the difference between a sativa plant versus a ruderalis plant versus an indica plant, right? And so on and so forth. So It's amazing. And speaking about data, we touched on earlier the importance of data and optimizing dispensary operations, making business operators smarter in terms of making business decisions. How is data analytics unlocking new opportunities for dispensaries from Mosaic's perspective?
So from Mosaic, we're primarily focused on the customer and I guess a bit of education, but driving their behavior. So outside of that, there's a lot of data that we capture that others could use relative to, inventory management and all the operational aspects that others are doing as well. But we're really focused on the customer, which I would argue is one of the most important things to one, understand, what do customers want, what's their behavior, what's their buying behavior, and two, how you engage them, how you keep them loyal, and then how you get to the right products to them and how you market. So that's really where our focus is, and and again, we're doing it like many others do in other industries, trying to leverage that data. And we're just getting started too. We do that in our platform, but we're really starting to get into AI, and there's a lot more there to add. And we've got a lot more to add to make our platform even more robust, so that it can tap into that data and really leverage it more effectively.
Yep.
It's limitless. So much that we could do that anybody can do around the data.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you said something earlier that stuck out to me, and I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you threw a data point out, but you mentioned how the consumer base in the cannabis industry is really they're mobile, right? And so it makes sense to have a mobile app if you're a dispensary. Tell me about the benefits of having a dedicated mobile app from a dispensary's perspective, and how Mosaic's app solution has helped dispensaries maybe boost sales, streamline ordering, or create more personalized experience for the consumer.
Yeah, and that's a great question because people, one, kind of struggle with that, and two, don't fully leverage it. Yeah, data point, I can tell you that in other industries, data is out there. 80-90% of folks are on their phone when they're shopping and buying. In cannabis, I've heard the same, but I can tell you from our data, 88.7% of people are on their phone, on a mobile phone when they're shopping, browsing, or buying cannabis, right? So that alone would make it kind of meaningful and a reason to have an app. Now you can use your phone with a mobile browser, and it works, but it's not optimized. And a lot of the technologies and platforms out there aren't even optimized from a browser perspective to work well on the phone. And we're very focused on everything we do in the design is built for a phone, even if it's a browser. But the app then gives you some additional benefits if you can download the app. Here's the key that I think I try to explain to people. What kind of business would use an app, and where does it fit? Well, I'll tell you, if you have repeat customers, then an app makes sense for you. Now, for example, if you're someone that's looking for a shirt, and you can go on Amazon, you can go look in a marketplace, whatever, you're going to find the best price or the brand you want. You're going to go shop across everybody. You're going to buy a shirt. You're probably not going to buy a shirt next week or next month necessarily. Maybe you will, but you're not going to need an app for that store, because you're going to buy once and you're going to buy from another store later on. But if there's a favorite restaurant, or there's a favorite coffee, right, like Starbucks, or in cannabis, if there's and this is what dispensary wants, a favorite dispensary you like to go to, well, that go-to source, because your repeat customer, can benefit from an app, because now that customer can download the app, and now they've got your store, which they go to, which they have some appreciation for, hopefully some love. They've got their store in their pocket or in their phone all the time, and they can go to you quickly. And then you've got to couple that with loyalty. So when you couple the app with loyalty, now you're giving people a reward for everything they're spending with you, and a reason to stay with you, to stay sticky, because they're getting points, and those points will give them discounts and all that. So that's where it all comes together, nice and tight. The app provides another benefit, which is push notifications. So if you get someone to download an app and register for your, say, loyalty program or VIP program, now you can push notifications. And that's really important in cannabis, because cannabis is limited in its marketing tools. So Google Ads is becoming even more strict recently. You can't market very easily outside. You can send email, you can push notifications, and people do text, but text is not compliant, and it's expensive, not compliant, and
Kind of
you can't really
invasive
buy
too.
much on it.
I always feel weird when someone shoots me like a promotion through text. I don't know. And maybe that's just my preference, but I get it. It can be effective, but I would much rather have like an app push notification where I know where it's coming from. It's not some random number.
Random number, exactly. And you got to be careful what you say. Can't say anything about cannabis in it or the product name. With an app, push notification, you can put images, you can put whatever you want, right? And you can advertise just like you can for an email. So the app is very powerful in that sense. The holy grail for a dispensary, in my opinion, because in an ideal world, you're doing over 50% of your revenues or sales through some digital means, is when a customer comes in, you get them to download the app, you get them to be registered with your dispensary, because now you're in the pocket and now you can start to send them communications on into their phone, to their email. Whether you do, some people do it daily, but 2 or 3 times a week. And if you're doing it in a way to add value, you're locking them in,
Yeah.
and it can become a little bit more viral. That's the holy grail. That's when you start to really build loyalty and you really start to build momentum on your sales and your growth.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and
our
then
best
I mean,
customers are doing 60%, or more on their through Mosaic.
yeah, they're just going to keep coming back. They're incentivized to do so. And I mean, there's even other advantages like in-app promotions, mobile payment options, and driving customer attention. So
Yep.
the benefits are definitely there when it comes to having an app. I think one more thing that we should probably circle back on before we wrap up here, Jack, is, I guess basically what Mosaic's overall value proposition is, which is creating a seamless omni-channel experience for cannabis customers, right? Like that dispensaries can use that branded digital experience all in one where your tech stack is integrated. So tell me about how y'all's solutions help dispensaries create a seamless omni-channel presence and what insights you can share for dispensaries that maybe don't have that today but are looking for it.
Sure. Yeah, so our platform, Mosaic, does exactly what you said. Instead of having these fragmented solutions, we bring it all together in a single platform, but more importantly, a single user experience that they love. It's mobile. It's very similar to what they do in other industries, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, CVS, to speak of a non-restaurant. Um, that experience they love, they're used to, it's convenient, they want. So that's what doesn't exist in cannabis. So we give a dispensary that full user experience. You say omni-channel, but that's the app, that's the online menu, it's the kiosk in the store, it's consistent experience, it's branded, and we do that so it's easier to manage because of one platform instead of many. And then in the value, talk about value, we do it all for $500 per month. So, the value is much less than they're spending for these fragmented solutions as a whole. That's the net of it. If you want to compete or if you want to have a competitive advantage, I think you want to take the best practices from other industries that are proven. And, we kind of took that playbook and brought to cannabis. That's number one. Number two is then using it effectively, right? Getting it out there and be able to get your users on it and using the marketing tools effectively. We talked about that being the challenge. We try to help our customers with that. We have partners that can help customers with that as well. But that's the net of what we do. We simplify, provide a better user experience, and help you leverage tools so that you can more effectively grow your business.
Very cool, Jack. It's definitely a solution that is needed in cannabis, if not within other industries as well. Because again, this data is just everywhere, and it's great that you have a all-in-one solution where it's all integrated. So, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing more information about Mosaic and your background. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we go here?
Hey, if you want to learn more about Mosaic, check us out, mosaic.green.com, Green, mosaic.green, or, shoot me a message, jack.blaeser, it's Blaeser at mosaic.green. In fact, I still like to do a lot of the demos because I love to have that customer interaction. I love to hear what's going on. So reach out. I'll show you what we're doing for others. And if I can help in any other way, non-related to Mosaic, I'd love to do that. Want to help this industry be successful. Want to, give as much as we can. because it's been fairly giving to me. So let's make it successful together.
Awesome. Great way to end it, Jack. I appreciate you coming on, and I'll drop those website and links in the description box in YouTube, as well as the episode landing page, so people have it. But thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck to you. Can't wait to be following y'all's progress as you continue to
Hey,
grow.
Kevin, thanks for having me on. This was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Of course, yes. And thank you all for listening. Bye.
Cannabinoid Connect, the nation's most diverse cannabis-related podcast.